Hi everyone, let's understand the global divides. The North and South, first of all, this is for educational use only. Our group grants permission for our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardi Ness, to use this as educational material. Okay, let's talk about the global divides, the North and South.
Good day everyone. So I'm Engine Cadet Oracion. So I'm here to discuss about or talk about the global south and the global north. So the global south refers to the country Latin America, Asia, Africa or Oceania that typically share lower socioeconomic status, historical legacy and colonialism. So and geopolitical power dynamics is not strictly geographical term, as many global south nation in the northern hemisphere, but rather groupings based on the shared economic, social, political condition relative to the more affluent of the global north. So the terms is more modern and less judgmental alternative to phrases like third world or developing countries. So emphasize relationship power of share challenges like poverty and the climate crisis. So example countries commonly include the regions like Africa, a large continent with many countries that are part of the global south. So Latin America and the Caribbean, the region is consistently included. Asia, most Asian countries are considered part of the global south, exception Israel, Japan, South Korea being part of the global north. And lastly is the Oceania. So similar to Asia, most of Oceania falls into the global south, including Australia and New Zealand.
So, the global north is a term that refers to a grouping of countries that are generally characterized as being more developed, industrialized, and wealthier. It is a socio-economic and political categorization, not strictly a geographical one. So, it is important to note that the global north is not a static concept, and the economic and political changes can shift a country's position. Also, even within global north countries, inequalities exist based on factors like income, race, and access to resources. So here are some examples of countries in the global north. So there are North America, United States, Canada, Europe, United Kingdom, Germany, and France. And in Asia, there are Japan, South Korea. So that's all.
Okay, the next topic is the global divide development. Refer to the social, economic, and the politics gap between the global north, comprising real development nation to the global south, composed by the poor development countries. This divide has a characteristic wealth or disparities, differing level technological access and development, and a variation of the life expectancy and education. The divide has a historical roots and a colonization. The unveiled globalization which concreted will and develop in the north, often at the expenses of the south, leading to ongoing economic dependency and vulnerability for southern nation. That's why the global divide development has growth, because to improve the social economic to the both north and the south. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's discuss all about the global divides and the north and the south. So, the global divide, often simplified as the north-south divide, represent the socioeconomic and political despair between developed and the north and developing countries, and the south is a way of categorizing countries based on their high levels. So, economic development, industrial income per capita, and overall quality. So, ang north characterized by high level of industry, advanced technology, and robust infrastructure and high per capita income. So ang south often marked by lower level of industry, reliance and agriculture, limited access to technology, inadequate infrastructure, and lower per capita income.
The concept of global divides, particularly the North-South divide, refers to the socio-economic and political differences between the global North and the global South. It's a way to understand global inequality in terms of development, wealth, power, and access to resources. So, the global North-South divides refers to the economic, political, and social differences between the wealthier, more developed countries, global, and the poorer, less developed countries. So, the global North typically includes the North America, Western Europe, parts of East Asia like Japan and South Korea. The characteristic of the global North is the high-income economies, advanced infrastructure and technology, high human development index, greater political influences. So, the global South is typically includes Latin America, Africa, most of Asia, and part of the Middle East. So, the characteristic of the global South is low to middle income economies, often dependent on agriculture and raw materials, less industrialization, low HDI, historical colonized or exploited. That's all. Thank you.
So, let's talk about the global South. The main difference between the Third World and Global South lies in their historical context and the way they are used today. While they both refer to a group of less developed nations, their origins and connotation are distinct. The Third World. The term Third World originated during the Cold War in the mid-20th century. It was a geopolitical term used to describe countries that were not aligned with either the capitalized First World, led by the United States, or the Communist Second World, led by the Soviet Union. Connotations, the term became associated with poverty, instability, and economic underdevelopment. As the Cold War ended, the Second World ceased to exist, and the term Third World became outdated and is now often considered pejorative and offensive due to its hierarchical and patronizing undertones.
Hi everyone, I'm Agent Cadet Heraldizo, and let's talk about Global South. The Global South is a more recent and analytical term that emerged in the late 20th century. It is not tied to a specific political ideology or a Cold War division. Instead, it focuses on the economic and historical relationship of power and inequality. Connotation emphasizes shared experience and colonialism and economic exploitation. It is more neutral and respectful term that highlights the collective challenges and aspirations of a diverse group of centuries. It's geographical and political concept, but not strictly geographical, as it can include marginalized communities within more developed countries. In short, Third World is an outdated term tied to the Cold War, while Global South is a contemporary term that emphasizes shared historical and economic realities as I seen as more appropriate and less judgmental issues.
Good day everyone, my name is Engine Cadet Ariel Alonso Jr. I'm here to discuss the new concept of the global relation emerged from the experience of Latin American countries. So, we talk about Latin American countries. The Latin American countries' experience has that contribute significantly to reshaping to how to understand global relations in the 21st century, from colonial history to economic independency, and now towards a new form of cooperation Latin American offer as a lesson that challenge traditional global powers and structures. And I explain the main claims of this new concept of a global relation with example and discuss their advantage and disadvantage. Now, first, shift from the independency and autonomy. And now, Latin America is reducing reliance on the US and Europe by building regional blocs like CELAC and Mercosur. This promotes trade, diplomacy, and independence. And this is the advantage of the American structure. Straightness, regional solidarity, cultural identity, and bargaining power. And this disadvantage. Regional makers are small and political divisions weaken unity. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Engine Kadit Kain. So, the second claims about the new concept of global relation emerged from the experience of Latin American countries is South-South cooperation. Countries are expanding ties with China, India, and Africa through trades and BRICS membership. China is now South America's largest trading partner and funds infrastructure project. The advantage of this is diversifies trades and bring new technology and financing. The disadvantage of this is risk new dependence on China and unequal trade as Latin America's exports mostly in raw materials. The third claims about the new concept of global relation emerged from the experience of Latin America's countries is recognition of historical inequalities. Latin America's links current struggles to colonial exploitation and Ecuador declared some debt illegitimate in 2008. And Argentina's crisis highlights dependence on the International Monetary Fund. The advantages of this is pushes for trade and justice. The disadvantage of this is constrained diplomacy and discourage investment. Thank you.
That's all. I hope you understand. Thank you for watching.